Coming to get you, Bobber.
Walter's got Nards.
Halloween itself, we're going back to 1978 Halloween. The way John Carpenter directed that film, do you, obviously being a writer yourself, and I know that it wasn't written perfectly, but what do you think of the kind of writing style of a film like Halloween back in the
I
day?
had a lot of fun in this because I rewatched it yesterday because I knew we were going to be talking about it tonight, and I was like, it's been about 10 years easily since I've seen Halloween, and so I need to go back and rewatch it and refresh my memory. And my first thought was like, damn, they get the boobs out really quickly in this one. Like, first couple of minutes they're there. I was like, they understand exactly what their audience wants. You're not going to get that in a movie nowadays. Like, you're never going to get boobs out. So yeah, that stuff's cool. Obviously, it's a slow movie though, and I was taken aback by how restrained it is in some ways, which sounds weird when I'm talking about the prototypical slasher flick. But the first proper on-screen murder, apart from like the very initial one, like which is just in the opening to shock you, doesn't happen until about an hour in. A lot of it is just build-up. You get to know the characters a little bit. You kind of know the setup of the street and what they do and what the people are about, and you just get these little moments of seeing Michael Myers, hanging around, like he's standing just beside a hedgerow and then he disappears behind it or whatever, and it's it's cool stuff. And it gets you invested in all these people, so when they get killed off, when they start dying, it feels very significant. And you've got the late great Donald Pleasance, who just gives such gravitas to that movie. And like he got used in a couple of John Carpenter films, didn't he? He was in Escape from New York as well.
Yeah, and he was in Prince of Darkness as well.
Yes, he was, yeah. So he became a bit of a favourite. And he's always good. He's always entertaining to watch. And
yeah, definitely.
I just remember watching it and it's not a scary film, but maybe that's just because I kind of know what's going to happen and so on. But yeah, from a dialogue and acting point of view, they didn't exactly have the cream of the crop available for this one.
No, definitely not.
When some of the actresses are getting strangled or whatever, damn, they really swing for the fences on that one.
Yeah. I think that's one of the only bad things about Halloween, unfortunately, is the acting. Donald Pleasance is great because it's Donald Pleasance, but everyone else, even including Jamie Lee Curtis, she wasn't great. She was good. It was her first major film, but
I think it's a funny one because, it was her first film, and you can tell she's a bit shaky, but you can tell as well that there's something special there. Like, she's got that charisma, she's got that real screen presence, and you can tell, she's going to go on and do, like, a lot. She's got good things in her future. And it doesn't hurt that she's really fucking hot as well in this. Jamie Lee Curtis was in good shape for this film.
Nothing happening for the first hour of the film. I don't know if that's maybe down to what they actually wanted to do or the budget that they had, because obviously they had budget restraints. It was a $300,000 movie, so John Carpenter never had a lot to work with. So luckily, he was a good director. He done Assault on Precinct 13 just before it, so we knew he was a good director.
What you get is a lot, especially in the early stages, a lot of long shots, like long continuous takes where characters are walking along the street or whatever and they're just talking to each other, and then maybe you see Michael in the background, whatever, just little things like that. And I think it works really well because it gives you that it gives you that feeling of continuity between scenes and that feeling of like you're there with them. When there's loads of rapid cuts, it's like, it's much more cinematic, but it takes you out of that immediacy a little bit. So when it's just the camera's just following these people as they go about their daily lives, I think it works really well to like just humanize them and let you tune into their environment. So that kind of directing style is really cool. He plays around with first person perspective a little bit as well, which is this is a fun little thing too. And there's an edge of humor to it as well, like dark humor that I like. So all of this stuff I think works really well, and it absolutely sets that benchmark for what slasher flicks should be, because I think for me, my personal favorite kind of horror is the ones that balance out the tension with a little bit of pressure release, like a little bit of humor or whatever, and it allows you to have fun with it, and get like little jump scares and moments of tension and things like that. But eventually there's a kind of release for it, like a film that's dead serious all the way through. I don't really enjoy that as a horror experience. I just end up feeling a bit like downcast at the end of it. Like it's not fun anymore. It's almost like just disturbing and depressing, and I kind of don't want that from my horror films. But yeah, that's just my preference.
Yeah, you get that in a lot of horror films these days. The really depressing ones like The Witch. I don't know if you've seen The Witch, but that was a really depressing horror film.
Right.
But Halloween itself, you do get that kind of release, even from Donald Pleasance. When little Lonnie's going up to the house, he's like, "Hey, Lonnie, get away from there." It's funny because it's him. He's an older man and he's supposed to be looking out for Michael Myers, but he's still got that time to like, "Hey, Lonnie, get away from there."
I just like when they run away. He looks so pleased with himself. Like, I did that. I pranked them. Yeah.
He gets a fright. Yeah, so little things like that. Even though it's supposed to be serious, and you are getting that build up. Like you said, you get that kind of release of, you get a relief. You're like, oh, it's fine. He's okay. You get a little fright. He's talking to the sheriff. Now we're getting the build up again of Michael Myers, where Donald Pleasance or Dr. Loomis is talking about Michael, where he's been for the last 15 years and stuff. And that kind of builds up the tension again for the final act. And the whole anamorphic, scenes at the beginning during the day, everything like you said as well, it's all wide angles. So you can kind of, you're following the cast until it gets to nighttime, and then it becomes that more closed off film where you're stuck with them now, with Michael Myers at night. I think that's what's good about not only the stories building tension, the way John Carpenter directs it, the way Dean Cundy lights the film, the cinematographer, everything from day to night is what makes it perfect. So I think when I watch it today, or whenever I watch it, it doesn't age badly at all. You get films that are 40 years old that are just so bad, but Halloween is just one of the ones where you just think, I could watch that time and time again.
I think it's just like it's like putting on a comfortable pair of boots or something. It's just it's a film that it's enjoyable to watch, and it's kind of satisfying. And I think it was a very deliberate choice to set it in like this picturesque town. Like it's all very like white picket fences and tree-lined avenues and stuff that these characters are walking down. So it seems like, just small town America, the kind of place that like people raise their families. And they drop this psychotic serial killer into the midst of it. And yeah, I love I love those like moments where you see him in the background, and like they're walking, because it's broad daylight as well, and that's what is so unusual about it. Like they're walking down the street, like Jamie Lee Curtis and her friend, and like he'll just be stood in front of them, like just beside a hedge, and then like he'll step behind it and then disappear. And it's like any normal person would think, holy shit, that was really weird. Like, but they just kind of brush it off like, just some creep, It's like whatever.
Yeah, it's something that when you watch it, well, when I watch it now, I think scenes like that with the hedge, and then scenes where Laurie's looking out a window and she sees him in the washing,
the washing line,
and she's still looking at him when he disappears. So like,
and you kind of think, what happened in that moment? Did he
she
like
doesn't
vanish?
take her eyes off him? But then I always put that down to bad directing, and everybody, like when I say this on YouTube, I get loads of hate comments saying, no, it's John Carpenter meant that. And I'm like, well, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But at the same time, it's back in the 70s. He's only got a certain amount of days to shoot this. He shot that. He's watched it back and realized, oh shit, we'll just keep it in. That's the kind of thing that it seems like it was a rushed shoot. But then when you look at it back 40 years later, it's got its fan base, obviously. It's a cult classic. So we're making up our own minds of what we think that means. Michael coming out of the hedge, disappearing behind the hedge. Back then, it was probably just, let's just put him behind the hedge. But looking at it over and over, like, oh, there's a really deep meaning behind that, because we've got these sequels, and Michael Myers is, we've got a picture built for Michael Myers now.
Well, he becomes this kind of immortal demon that's unkillable, doesn't he? And I think Carpenter himself said like he wanted to with that first movie he wanted to leave it kind of open as to what his true nature is and what he became. Because he took like 6 rounds to the chest. Like that's not the sort of thing you walk away from, but like obviously he did. And then the later movies just get ridiculous with it, where he's getting set on fire and blown up and stuff, and it's like still nothing can stop him. So it's in this. She's still able to injure him, like she stabs him in the chest, or she puts like a coat hanger into his neck and stuff, and that drops him. And I love those scenes where you think, she thinks he's taken out, and she's like sent the kids outside, and she's like leaning against the door frame, and then in the background you just see him sit bolt upright, like Undertaker style, and it's like there's no noise because he's very quiet, and like she's obviously not aware of it, but we are, and I just think, this is good stuff. I like it.
Yeah, that's the kind of directing that John Carpenter's good at, because we didn't really see that back then, the way you did in horror films back then. It was just all kind of slasher fun, but with that, it's you got that the depth of field you've got with Michael Myers in the background. That's building tension without giving you a fright, because we're not getting a fright because we can see it happening, but she doesn't see it happening. So that's the tension building scenes that I'm thinking of. Whereas today, you don't get that today.